2. Our scripture passage this morning is from Matthew chapter 23, verses 1 through 12. Hear this good news. Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, "The teachers of the law and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. So you must be careful to do everything they tell you. But do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. They tie up heavy, cumbersome loads and put them on other people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them. Everything they do is done for people to see. They make their phylacteries wide and the tassels on their garments long. They love the place of honor at banquets and the most important seats in the synagogues. And they love to be greeted with respect in the marketplaces and to be called rabbi by others. But you are not to be called rabbi, for you have one teacher, and you are all brothers and sisters." I added that part. "And do not call anyone on earth father, for you have one Father, and he is in heaven, and one mother who is also in heaven. Nor are you to be called instructors, for you have one instructor, the Messiah. The greatest among you will be your servant. For those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted." All right, so the focus of today's passage is on the word hypocrites. This is a Greek word. What does it mean? In its most literal sense, in the Greek, the Koine Greek, the language of the Bible, it means one who wears masks. And the term actually comes from classic Greek theater when they used to perform it in the amphitheaters. And one actor could portray more than one character. And the masks were designed in such a way that where the mouth hole is, that it was like a little megaphone, so it helped their voices to spread back in the very back of the theater. But one actor could portray one character with one mask and then become another character with a different mask. So hypocrites means one who wears masks. And so we have to deal with the reality that religion has its masks. There's a part of religion that it wants to convey to you about its reality, but then behind the scenes it might look a little different, right? Don't put on your marquee, "Everyone is welcome," when you don't welcome everyone who comes in for who they are, right? It's important. Religion must be transparent. It must be honest and true as to what you project in the world is also how you behave in the things that you do. Now, in Jesus teaching his followers about, listen to what your religious instructors are telling you and teaching you, but don't do what they do, because they don't practice what they preach. It's pretty harsh. And when Jesus is complaining about the religion that he grew up with, he's Jewish, Judaism. He's not here to destroy the religion or say the religion is bad. But the religion had become a burden upon the people, and he didn't blame the people for that, but rather he blamed the leadership, because they would lay these heavy burdens upon the people that the religious leadership themselves were not willing to carry about themselves. When the religion that we inherit or the religion that we choose stops becoming a means to grow closer to God, then maybe something's wrong with the religion. I believe that as we practice our faith, we practice a religion, we practice spiritual disciplines, that the purpose of them is to draw us closer to God and help us to be our fullest self. This is what Jesus was teaching his people. This is what he was imploring them to try to transcend and rise above. Not to denounce the religion, but do not make the religion itself God. And that's part of the mask that I think religion over the millennia has done. This is the disservice that it has done to humanity over the years. You see, you have a great spiritual leader, like Jesus, for example. He did not create Christianity, but after his death and resurrection, there was a following. And it took about 300 years for the religion to become formalized. But what happens is you have this powerful spiritual leader on the planet, and you want to continue to teach their teachings and share their wisdom, and you want it to continue with the next generations. So we create a religion around it. And the sole purpose is that these teachings and this wisdom will help us to grow closer to God and to ourselves and the world around us. But what happens? Eventually, the doctrines and the polities and the rules and the belief systems start becoming equated with God. And the religion itself becomes the God. It becomes the focus of all the attention. Actually, it's a form of idolatry, is it not? So what happens if someone comes along and breaks the rules? They're not breaking so much the rules of the religion, if the religion and the rules have been equated with God, but they're breaking whom? They're breaking God. And you love this religion and you're committed to this religion. So you can't allow people to break God. So the religion itself starts to become a guardian of the God. And the religion will do anything it needs to do, and its followers will do anything they need to uphold the status quo. And the means always justify the end. This is the mask of religion. People aren't buying into it anymore. Somehow, I guess maybe the masks have become too small or predictable, and people no longer want to participate in the charade. But disciplines of faith and spirituality is something that is catching on. And this is what people demand as they are wanting to grow closer to God, closer to themselves, and closer to the world around them. They need a spiritual practice that becomes a conduit for that. I believe that religion is a means to enlightenment, but it is not an end in of itself. So what we see in this passage is Jesus unmasking the religious leaders and the religion. When your religion becomes such a heavy burden that you no longer am practicing and participating in it, that you feel closer to God, but rather God seems farther and farther away, then something is wrong with the religion, not you. Jesus also complains that the religious leaders did not practice what they preached. They would create these religious requirements and burdens for the people that they themselves were not willing to follow. That's not leadership. There's an HBO series, maybe you're getting tired of hearing me talk about it now, but it's a very, very powerful series for me. It's Band of Brothers. And the main focus character in that series is a man named Richard Winters. And eventually he becomes the leader of Easy Company. And one of the things that I love about the series is not only that it's just filmed beautifully and it's powerful and emotionally gripping, but that there were survivors of Easy Company and World War II who are a part of a documentary in the series. So you get to hear these men who actually experienced the stories you're watching and talk about their leader, Richard Winters. One of them just shook his head and he said, I don't know how he lived through the war, quite frankly. He never led from behind. Anytime that we took the offensive, he was always in the very front, leading the way. I'm surprised he didn't get shot and killed, but he lived through it. And as you watch the series go, Richard Winters, when he made a strategy for how his company was going to become the offensive, he didn't design something and then send them all off to do it. He led them every step of the way, and those men said they would have followed this man anywhere because he practiced what he preached. He was leading them and willing to take on the same consequences as everybody else who was involved in the charge. Leadership has no place for masks. If we, collectively and individually, are going to lead and have the most powerful influence on those whom we're leading and the world around us, then we do it with our truest sense of self. No place for a mask here. You have to be your truest self. This is what people intuit. This is what they sense, and they will follow. Religious people wear masks, do they not? I've seen it many times. When I see somebody who's uber religious, and I'm not talking about the car drivers, I'm talking about some extremely religious, and they can quote everything and share everything, and everything is about their religion. I step back for a moment and take a look. And I ask myself this question. I wonder what it is they're hiding. Now, I'm not talking about people who practice spiritual discipline and people who are committed to the faith. No, I'm just talking about uber religious people. You know who I'm talking about. So religion becomes a perfect mask to hide behind. If I do not think that in my own soul that I'm a very good person, then I can wear the mask of religion and everybody says, oh, look how righteous he is. Oh, he must be a good man, right? And here's the thing that I've also learned, that if you think and feel somehow you're corrupt to the core of your being, I promise you, you will find a religion that will validate every bit of that for you. And then, after they tell you how horrible you are, they give you a set of rules that you can follow so that you can become righteous, right? But all the while, it's a mask. And Jesus is challenging the mask wearers, challenging those in leadership, primarily for wearing the mask and in projecting that image upon their followers. If we truly are committed to becoming one with God, ourselves, and the world around us, then that we can't do it with the mask on. Because really we're hiding. And what are we hiding from? It seems that typically it comes down to if people really knew who I was, they would never love, accept, or like me. So yes, religion can become a mask we can hide behind, but Jesus is challenging us to let those masks go. Let them drop. Let them fall. And wearing a mask is burdensome, right? Hiding, trying to project an image of who you want people to think you are, that's hard work. It's extremely hard work. You've got to always be vigilant. You can't mix your stories up. You've always got to be ready, right? Always got to be ready because, I can't allow people to see through this mask so that they see who I really am. It's burdensome. So whether you're wearing a mask to protect yourself, whether you're wearing a mask to fool everyone around you, whether you're wearing a mask because you want to have an image of yourself that you yourself do not hold, or whether you wear a mask because you want to use it to control everyone around you, it's burdensome, it's heavy, it's hard work trying to figure out which character you are at any moment in time. Jesus is telling us in this passage to let it go. Drop the mask to the floor and let your real self shine. Let your real self shine. There's a series on Netflix that I want to encourage you to watch if you haven't already. It's with David Letterman. It's My Next Guest. And they've just posted season 3. And as Amy and I were watching it the other night, there were 2 interviews that I found fascinating. Ellen DeGeneres, very white, grew up in Christian Science and in Louisiana. And Dave Chappelle, African American, grew up in D.C. and also in Yellow Springs, Ohio. And it's amazing how these two persons found themselves in their careers wearing a mask they could no longer bear. And each of them told the story of what they did to let the mask fall. And when they allowed their true selves to be known, there were severe professional consequences for that. Ellen DeGeneres was a famous stand-up comic, Johnny Carson, David Letterman, and had her own TV show on ABC. And she came out on her TV show, and 3 years she had zero work. Nobody was hiring her in comedy clubs. Nobody was offering another sitcom for her. 3 years, until a man who was creating an animation called Finding Nemo had a fish named Dory with short-term memory, and he heard one of her comedy sketches and thought, oh my God, that's Dory. And that was her first work. And you think, well, she had a TV show. She had millions of dollars. No, she did not. She did not have any ownership of her TV show. She was struggling financially. She moved from Hollywood to Ohio, and she got paid the base rate, the standard rate, $75,000 for 3 years' work, $25,000 a year. But she never regretted taking her mask off, because in time, as we know, it worked out. David Chappelle, the same thing, had his own TV show. He was doing a show, knew it wasn't working right. He did something in a show where he was an African American playing a man with blackface, and he heard the laughter, but it wasn't laughing at the jokes he created. The laughter came at strange times, and he felt ashamed. And so he took his mask off, he left the show, and he, like Ellen, had professional consequences for that. But he's doing it now, and he's his real self, and he has the acclaim, he has the wealth, he has all the things that he would have never known if he had not taken off his mask. But what I want to convey to you is this. Even though both of them very different people, they had the exact same response when they took the risk to show the world who they really were. Both of them says that after they did it, it was a huge sigh of relief, because you see, it's burdensome wearing the mask. Windermere Union Church, I want you to hear this, and how important what I'm about to say is. It's important that each and every one of us let go of our mask. You're not really fooling anybody in many cases. And who you are is a creation of the divine. You are a facet of God's persona, personality, creativity. And you do a disservice to everyone around you if we can't see and know the real you. It's important that you don't hide behind any kind of mask, because the masks ultimately are created in fear. Now, some of you may be saying, well, I'm not really sure who I am. Oh, I bet you are. In counseling sessions, this conversation has come up before in the past. So I'm going to share a little bit, a secret with you as to how I deal with that when people say, I don't have any idea who I am. I say, when you're daydreaming, you're not working your mundane job, you're not being with people you really don't care for, but somehow you feel you have to be with them. When you're daydreaming, and when your mind just wanders, and you start dreaming about the person you would like to be, the person that you wish you were, what would you be doing? How would you be living? Everybody has that. Everybody, all of us know. I'm not just pointing my finger, right? It's a journey we are all on. We all know who we truly want to be and who we truly feel we should be. Yeah, that's it. So the next question is, then what are you doing to become that person? Take the mask off. Take the risk. And we, collectively, we do this for each other, do we not? We're not a rules church. The Windermere Union Church is not a rules-based church. We have maybe one rule. Two rules. Anybody who comes through that back door will be loved and accepted for who they are. We will not require that they change themselves, that they mold themselves into an image we want them to be because we feel safe. No, when you come through that door and you sit in these pews and in these chairs, we love and accept you for who you are. And because so many people have been betrayed by so many different kinds of communities, people often come here with their mask on. Okay. But you see, what we're going to do is we're going to let you know that no matter what mask you're wearing today, we still love you. And we create an environment that's safe. I cannot tell you how many times I've heard people, especially those who experience prejudice in some form or another, say that this place allowed them to feel safe enough to be able to explore and then express who they really were, without condemnation, you see. Man, just my saying it out loud makes me feel better. If we're going to love each other as God has loved us, then that's the way you love. You love people into their truest selves. If we're going to forgive each other as we have been forgiven by the divine, then that's what agape, unconditional love, is all about. Yes, it may be weird at times, and you might make me angry at times, but we're all in this together. We're all using our faith community, our faith traditions, our belief systems to help us to grow closer to God, closer to self, and then the world around us. That is what we do as a church, a community of faith, you see? That's our purpose. For when I drop my mask and become fully Barton, it helps you to drop your mask and to become your fullest self. When you show who you really are to me, then it helps me to feel more confident and not trying to pick up another mask and try to hide behind that. You see? That's the way it works. That's why we are who we are, because we empower each other to discard the mask, to let go of the hypocrite, no matter what shape or form it reveals itself. We help each other to drop the mask to the floor and allow our truest selves to shine. And that, my friends, is when God is glorified. Thus ends the lesson. God's grace and peace to you all. Go with purpose. Amen.